Most agencies at 14 years either get acquired or lose their edge, but Mediatropy did neither. 7 markets across Asia, brands across the APAC region, and still fiercely independent because they saw something others didn't. We were already AI enabled when everybody started talking about it. See, they didn't just add AI to their workflow, they rebuilt the entire workflow around it. It used to take months. Now, it takes days. And while competitors were busy pitching features and chasing scale, Mediatropy was building proprietary tools that actually worked. Which meant when the entire market screamed, scale fast or die, they chose a different path entirely. Meet Daniel Posavac, CEO at Mediatropy, the man who built an agency that refused to play by the rules and won anyway.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Tech Unplugged by Mobile App Daily. I'm Tamanna and today's guest has one of those resumes that makes you wonder if he sleeps. Daniel Posavac is the CEO of Mediatropy, an independent digital agency that's been holding its own across 7 markets in Asia for over 13 years, which in agency years is basically a lifetime. Before this, he built Bonsi Jaden from a Sydney idea into a 200-person operation across 8 countries and then sold it to CUE Group in the middle of a pandemic as you do. He's now repositioning Mediatropy as a multi-intelligent partner, blending creative, media, SEO, and their own in-house AI tools. He's also refreshingly blunt about what's real in this industry and what's just a nice slide in a pitch deck, which is exactly why this conversation is going to be fun. So, starting off, first thing first, I would love to know that, now that Mediatropy has been operating for almost 13 years, right? And that too across 7 markets in Asia. So by this time, most of the agencies either they scale, or once they scale, they either get acquired or they just lose their edge. So what has kept Mediatropy this sharp till now?
Mediatropy has a very interesting history, and the purpose of its operation is very clear from the very beginning. And so I think this has given Mediatropy an ability to stay independent, stay focused, and still deliver amazing work for clients all over Asia and now the world without the pressures of scaling too big or selling the business and getting acquired, which a lot of other agencies go through. And secondly, I believe a big part of that is the clientele, the long-term clientele that we have in the business. Those relationships have been very stable and have grown incrementally and well over time. And I think that's also protected the business from, any huge shifts or any dramatic requirements that happen to a lot of independent or boutique agencies.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. When you joined as the CEO here, right? And, the agency was trying to be actively repositioning itself as a multi-intelligent partner indeed. So what was the honest state of the agency back then? And when you walked in, did you feel like bringing in some change with you?
Change is inevitable in our industry, so it always comes whether I bring it or not. And I think we just need to be ready for it. To be very clear, the state of the technology baseline and foundation that we have at Mediatropy was very good. I don't think it was being utilized or sold the way that we now do and can. So I think that's where the big opportunity was for me. This is an agency that was already AI enabled and AI ready. When everybody started that transition and started really talking about it, we were already using it. So it was less about repositioning it internally and much more about repositioning it externally, because I think internally we were ready. And the natural change that's coming now is being driven by the early adopters, the staff who really have embraced the technology and are constantly tinkering and playing with it and learning from what the tools are being able to give us. And so we have a very healthy state of the team that already does that. And so as new people come on board, this is what we really look for. And it's happened pretty naturally.
Wow, that's amazing. In fact, when we read more about Mediatropy, we realized that the agency has apparently pledged to never work with, fossil fuel plants, which sounds like a noble cause. But yet, when we talk about a market like Singapore, it's very commercially driven, right? And when you bring in value-based filter like that, it might be a very revenue pressure might be there for you, which might be very real for the agency. So how did you tackle that? And why do you guys abide by that rule for yourself?
The reason we took that step is because we have the ability to really invest in what we believe in. We don't have the financial pressures of larger companies or public companies. As a private boutique company, fully founder owned, we have the ability to focus our efforts and our energy and to give our employees a very clear foundation on which they can join and grow within Mediatropy. And one of those is the type of work that we believe in and want to do.
Wow,
And so that's where this has really come from, and it's really serving us very well.
amazing. That's great. I mean, I love when people have their own ethics and they do abide by that. So,
No, I've always found it to be a beyond just a marketing value add, a real connection point with the right types of clients. So yeah, we're very happy with the position that we're in.
oh, that's great. I mean, moving ahead on the whole strategy and the whole brains behind the agency, I would love to bring attention to how Mediatropy position itself as a full service digital partner. So you're covering SEO, we're covering performance media, creative, and obviously now we are AI powered solutions all under one roof. So when most of the clients have heard that pitch before, and most of the people integrate that in their deck. So how do you say that Mediatropy is exactly bringing in all these things that they're mentioning here? So what are you guys doing about that?
It's true. I mean, the most of this is table stakes in our industry. A few things that work for us is that our heritage and 13 plus 14 years now of that experience is very, very clear. Mediatropy was always technically led, so performance, SEO, technology. That has been the foundation of the business. With a real growth in creative, social PR coming in very recently into the business, and the proof is really in the pudding for us. We've retained our blue chip clients for a long, long time. They still work with us, and we back ourselves to prove that in our engagement. So a lot of the time, you have to test the relationship, and it's more about showing what we can do rather than selling what we can do. And so the right clients will take that chance. We'll take a test, and we then like to believe that we can prove ourselves from there.
Oh, that's amazing. So, for say, when a client comes to you or when a brand comes to you with a full funnel brief of, these are their requirements, how do you decide where to exactly start? Because, most of the agencies, what they do is they start off from what exactly are their strong points and not the other way around of what are the requirements of the client. So, how do you cater to that?
Well, our fundamental belief is that we need to be business partners for our clients. This is not a new belief, but I think a lot of agencies fail to deliver on that. That seems to be more of a promise. But we start by looking at the business strategy, and we look at what's going to build this relationship for 3 to 5 years, not what's going to deliver on this brief. And so we will definitely try and address the brief or the challenge, but we always offer a longer term picture and try and understand how we impact the business. I think whenever you're after vanity briefs or vanity metrics, those relationships are really tough to land and they don't always last. We try and be tangibly accountable for our results in whatever way we can sort of demonstrate that. It's not always possible right to the last measurement, but we try and find that. And then we try and really set realistic KPIs that we can achieve and hopefully grow beyond. And again, that has served us very well.
I mean, I love the transparency and kind of flexibility you guys provide to your brands and clients that love to be on board with the agency. But yet again, I want to double tap on that. I want to ask you guys that, as you operate across 7 Asian markets, right? So what might suit, strategy might suit in Singapore need to be rethought upon in a different market altogether. So where do agency most commonly, all other agencies getting wrong in that segment? What are they doing wrong from that angle?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think about adaptation, and we don't believe in adaptation. You can't adapt strategies or ideas to different Asian markets. And now we're doing a lot more work into the Middle East and the rest of the world, US and Europe. So it's beyond Asia. And what we find is the technology foundation is largely the same. So we operate with the same tools and the same technology platforms, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously culture and environment is very, very different. And so we don't try and adapt that. We don't try and transcreate that or translate that. We use our local teams or our local partners. Once we are clear on the strategy that's driven by the business and then the technology platform that's going to enable us to deliver that, we look at what is culture, what is environment, and what does the current situation dictate and adjust to that and develop very customized strategies. So that's why local teams are important, local partners are important for us. That's the way we've built our business.
Oh, yeah, because it's very important to study the culture, because uh, you being in a very technical yet a creative field, you need to take care of these technicalities and the creative aspects, isn't it?
For sure, for sure. And we not only study the culture, we have to be embedded in it. So that's where the right team members that are embedded in the culture make a big difference. Studying is usually delayed, right? It's never live. And what we do being digitally led is always live. So you've got to be in the culture, you've got to be on ground to understand what is happening and how to ensure that the business and the message are landing in the right way.
True, that's very important indeed. So, do you want to share any case study by which the viewers watching this right now might get a better insight into it?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't like to name drop clients, so I'll talk more about industry, but we've got a lot of experience in hospitality and financial services, and they're very different industries, but both of them are really focused on acquiring customers through different stages of the funnel. And when it comes to hospitality, competition is very, very, very strong. And so really owning a space and differentiating a brand is so valuable, and communicating that in the right channel at the right time is very, very important. But even a lot of that is table stakes. So how do you deliver messages that really connect with people, and how do you make them as clear and as powerful as possible? We spend a lot of time on that. And that comes down to culture, that comes down to timing, that comes down to day of the week, month of the year. So those little intricacies have helped us be very successful. I think building that on a very strong technology stack is the second part. We have so many tools at our disposal to be able to get our timing right, and to be able to get our delivery mechanism right, and to be able to get the experience right, which is really important. And I think a lot of that is still often overlooked, especially, I still see a lot of ads that are done for TV, billboard, or big screens being served on mobile. And that's just a very basic error, but it happens all the time to this day. So little things like that is where we spend a lot of our focus and our energy. And that has been paying a lot of dividend, especially when you're looking at a competitive space like hospitality. In financial services, we do a lot of work to acquire customers for credit cards and for financial institutions. There, it's about clarity of message, timing of delivery, and again, quality of that experience, right? There, everybody has too many options in front of them. How do we catch the attention to help them understand what our offer is? How do we help them buy into the fact that it's the right one? How do we make it very easy for them to convert? That's been our focus, and that's where the team kind of invests most of their time and energy.
I mean, it's such a tough thing to crack with the kind of strategy you guys are coming up with. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see how much you care about the details.
We have to, honestly, like otherwise things change so quickly and we wouldn't be successful. Competition's very, very high. And the competition for a consumer's attention is even higher. So if we don't pay attention to it and don't care about it, we will not succeed. The results are going to tell very quickly, and someone else will come along. So that focus is kind of number one for us internally.
Wow, that's great. So moving ahead, Mediatropy won silver and the local hero title at the Marketing Interactive Agency of the Year Awards. That too in the search category. So search, is changing faster for most of the clients out there, and keeping up with that change is a big thing these days. So how do you guys are coping up with that? Coming, looking from the AI perspective as well.
We have been a top tier performance and search agency, I think, for a long time. That's one of our foundations, and we have through that had the pleasure of working on quite large scale international campaigns in the area of search for really top tier clients, and that's given us the ability to really be on the front line and work with large scale investments. So I think that's really trained our team historically very well. And now with the transition to GEO, and obviously everybody looking at how search is evolving, we've been able to invest in that early with a number of our client partners and test what's still a very transformative industry at the moment. And we've seen very good results. The shift is not happening as quickly as everybody might think, but the results are definitely there. So traditional SEO still drives most of the value, most of the business results. But I would say the new era of GEO is starting to deliver some good scale in our markets. And it's kind of shape shifting. So it's also quite interesting for our team. SEO is quite a technical category. And a lot of people believe that It's really built on frameworks and systems, but there's a lot of creativity in it. And now we're getting to play with a lot of technology in that space as well. And interestingly, content is becoming really important again. We went through this phase many years ago where content was king, then people forgot about that and got into a lot of technicalities. I think that's now coming back, and we are seeing the value of true content. The LLMs know their own content. They can tell the difference between something that's human written and AI written. And so those elements, those elements actually make a difference, funnily enough. So even though we use the technology and we do a lot of work with AI, we still believe that the human input, multi-intelligence as we kind of label it, and is a differentiator at the moment, especially as the volumes continue to increase. If we thought we were exposed to a lot of information 5 years ago, it's quadrupled and then some now. So I think that originality, the human factor, the emotional factors are more important than ever. And so in our search team, we actually have a lot of people that are creative thinkers, content thinkers, and technologists. And that's, I think, one of the things that sets us apart.
Okay. But not only that, in fact, most of the brands, they treat SEO and, in fact, the whole paid marketing thing as a very two different things. But we've been analyzing that how Mediatropy has been integrating them together. So how are you guys doing that?
Absolutely. They are not two distinct categories. And we believe that brands who are investing in two different agencies to run their performance in SEO are missing a pretty big trick, especially when it comes to Google, which is still the number one search engine in the world and not one of the number one LLMs in the world. They are intricately connected, and the way that you set up your infrastructure and your content base and your campaigns have direct overlap and impact, and that impact is changing. So if you are not monitoring it actively, if you've got two separate teams working on it that maybe never communicate or hardly ever communicate, you are very quickly going to get caught and see yourself sliding on either side of the spectrum, whether it's the traditional search SEO or the GEO, gets impacted very quickly by certain decisions the platforms themselves make. So this is where we believe that working centrally, so to us, there's no difference. There's obviously a platform technicality, but a lot of the strategies are working together, and need to be built so they complement each other rather than otherwise.
Yeah, in fact, things have changed. The traditional SEO system has completely revamped itself, as Gen AI has come into picture. So how much of that has changed things for you guys?
I wouldn't say it's changed things. Again, our team has been doing this for a long time. And with that has come a lot of change. Google has changed their SEO algorithms multiple times, and the way that they do things, and we've had to adapt to it. This is just another technological platform, another sort of foundation that we're getting to work on. So to us, it has been a big shift. There's been some new technical learnings, but it's also been a really interesting playground because we've been able to develop our own tools and our own agents very quickly. So things that used to be impossible or cost a lot of time, or money, and now you can do them pretty quickly and cost efficiently. So I think that's actually given us more fuel. So the team has got a lot more fuel to work with. And so it's been a pretty exciting transformation, but something that we're built for and we're used to. And so during these times, I actually think the next 6 to 12 months is where the brands who invest in this and truly take some risks are going to have the biggest dividend. This is going to become table stakes, just like Google search has become, or let's say Google AdWords or advertising on Meta, which everybody does. This is going to become the same as that in 6 to 12 months time. But those that come in early and those that invest heavily and really take risks are already seeing huge results.
Great, great. So now if we move ahead a bit about towards the performance segment. So Mediatropy built the media system tool, a proprietary AI platform that automates media planning and performance tracking. What does a media planner actually do differently now that this tool exists, right? And what does it um, free them up to focus on?
The media planner now spends more time on strategy and insights and less time on research and compiling of reports and plans. So if you looked at traditionally the amount of time media planners spent researching and organizing data, pulling it from various sources, putting it into spreadsheets before they could even do any kind of analysis or drive any insights into strategy, it was the bulk of their job. We've had the complete shift now. Now that takes very little time, and we've automated a lot of it, so they can spend a lot more of their time looking for those insights or even validating the insights that the AI platforms are helping to generate, because most of those insights are also being generated there, and then putting them into plans of action. So there's a lot more action, a lot less administrative work. And that's really what I think is going to be a driver of growth for us. For us as a boutique agency, it's not about how do we scale down and have less staff. It's about how do we take each one of our staff and help them to do more or more valuable work. And so that's been the biggest shift in our performance team. Tools like the Media Assistant tool and a few other tools that we've been developing are about optimizing the amount of admin time and moving that admin time into strategy, insights, creative development, execution, action-oriented planning.
But most clients, when you talk about the performance, they talk about the short conversion rates, right? They look at the small funnel or the short duration. So your head of media has spoken publicly about the gap between ROI as a formula and how ROI as a driver of long-term brand equity. So how do you have that conversation with a client who's only looking for the results from the next quarter perspective?
That's a tough one. And the reality is you have to help them achieve the results in the next quarter. A lot of our clients have tough targets, quarterly, half yearly, and yearly. And if they don't meet them, they can't think about 2, 3 years down the track. So that type of thinking 2, 3 years down the track comes with joint success, earn trust, and longevity of relationship. It's very easy for me to have that conversation with a client that I've been working with for 5 years and we've had success together. I don't try and do that with someone who we're brand new to, because you've got to help them achieve their goals in the short term to unlock the abilities to plan and deliver long term. And so we have the benefit of having a lot of those long-term type relationships where we're really focused on the long term. And then I think for the new relationships, we try and kind of help clients understand, let's help you meet these goals as best we can so that we can look further forward. Because the reality is, when you look at the businesses themselves, the instant results are often prohibited because of the nature of business. Some of them have long sales cycles, some of them don't have full tracking and data and
New cloud.
attribution.
It's very problematic.
Exactly. And attributions become a lot more difficult, to be very honest. Privacy's become a bigger concern. There's a lot more ways to mask it. So it's not as easy as it once was to connect a click to a sale or to a lead, right? So you have to go higher up the business chain to understand the macro impact on revenue, profit, growth of the client's business. And so that's kind of the way we approach it. Make sure that we partner with our clients and help them short term, keep unlocking those opportunities to make changes for the long term, but we have to earn the right to be there. And that's the way that we look at it.
Myself, I'm being a marketing and advertising buff. I realize that now that the world is evolving this quick and everybody has their own media agency today, there's so much depth to it today. You have to dive in so deeply to, crack the kind of funnel that you really want to connect or create or make a project or a requirement for your client successful. It's so hard these days. How much do you agree to that?
It is getting harder and it's getting a lot more competitive. And to be very honest with you, I think it's only going to get harder because now, very publicly facing platforms like Claude, for example, are developing those agents and those tools for people to almost plug and play. Not quite there yet. And you still need some technical know-how and you still need to be able to tinker and do a lot of things that most people cannot, but it's not far away. And so the expectation level has risen from a client perspective to be able to do more and to be able to do it faster. The depth of information and technology available to staff members is much, much larger. So you've really got to know what to work with and how to work with it. And so that's become the more challenging thing. So we're doing a lot less admin and a lot less of the painful stuff that maybe wasn't high value, but we're having to really know that we're investing our time in the right platforms, the right agents, the right technology to make a difference, because someone else out there is probably doing something similar or trying to crack that egg. So yeah, it has definitely gotten harder, but again, I look at this in a similar way to when social media first came into the business landscape and social media started to become a true advertising platform, which wasn't that long ago. There was a period of 2 to 3 years where everybody was still figuring it out, where it went from I spend $0 on Facebook to I spend 80% of my budget on Facebook. That shift happened in a couple of years. And we are in that period again. And that's a golden age for us marketers, because for those ones that figure it out and have some success, the growth will come quickly. The results are going to be very, very powerful. And we're already seeing that. So I look at the upside, the glass half full, exciting piece of it. But yes, it's definitely more challenging than it was.
I like your optimism towards it. Very breath. Not only this, now let's look at what others are doing wrong. Where is media spend being wasted and most consistently, though, across Asia specific markets right now? And why do agencies keep letting this happen to themselves?
So a couple of things that we still keep seeing. Number one, mobile being underestimated and ads really not being produced for mobile. I think there's a little bit of lateness and budget efficiencies there, but there is still a lot of what people call transcreation and adaptation. And one, doing that from TV to mobile, desktop to mobile comes with a lot of challenges and it's not truly native. The second piece that I think a lot of people are doing wrong across Asia, uh, adaptation for local creatives and for local markets, right? Like taking that global campaign and changing talents or just translating the copy to land at a Southeast Asian market. We know that doesn't work. We've tested that for many years, and we spoke about the reasons why. So I think those things we still keep seeing. We often will pick up a client where that's been done and the results haven't been there, and so there is a need to convince the client that extra investment is going to pay dividends because it costs more to create native content, it costs more to create local content, but it always pays dividend. I have not had a single campaign where we've experienced decreasing results when we've taken that step or those steps together. So I still think that's where most people are going wrong. There is starting to become an element of people churning out ads using AI where you can quite clearly tell, particularly from a copy standpoint. Those of us that are experienced or trained can tell the difference between an AI written email or ad and a human written one. And I get the temptation to go all in on prompt-led Gen AI, but I also know that it doesn't perform as well. You can have 1,000 ads that perform average, or you can have 10 ads that perform really well. I'll always go with the 10 ads that perform really well. So those are kind of the issues that we're still seeing out there.
Now that you mentioned campaigns, I mean, I would like to take this conversation more towards the creative angle. I saw a lot of videos on the YouTube also wherein, Mediatropy got a creative award for at the Marquees, right? And they built a reputation for video storytelling. So, but you also run one of the most heavy, data-driven operations in the region. Where
Yes.
does this data end and from the create and where does the creative instinct begin for Mediatropy?
Well, the creative instinct for us still needs to be felt in the way that we execute on the strategy, but the data really helps us get the strategy as clear as we possibly can and then fuel back into that strategy. So we try and make data-driven decisions as much as possible. You don't always have all the data, so you still have to make some assumptions or make some kind of tests, but the data will feed into the strategy and feed into the optimization to tell us what is not working and what isn't. But creative still fuels the way that we try and connect with audiences, the way that we try and land messages, the way that we try and still pull at the heartstrings, which is still the number one most effective way to get someone to engage with a piece of content or an ad. None of that has changed with the technology evolving the way it has. So that's where we have a bridge between, I guess, two worlds of data and creative. And I think it's also teaching the teams and showing the teams that there is a value in looking at it as an integrated sort of team rather than two separate units. They used to be separate agencies. Now, obviously, most agencies have both of these teams in-house, but getting them to work together naturally, that's still something that we are heavily invested in. And nowadays, there are more and more young staff members that are coming in with both skill sets. Creatives that understand data and can run their own data analysis, develop their own agents and do a lot of that work, and vice versa. Tech and data driven staff who understand creative and have taste and can create and mock and understand what works. And so those types of people are doing very well right now. And that I think is going to be the future of that role.
Because at the end of the day, this is the need of the hour for the media agencies today, isn't it?
It is. There's no future in which this is not the way that advertising operates. Today there's still probably a lot of wasted advertising dollars. I don't think we'll ever get fully away from that. But digital has certainly, I think, trimmed the wastage from traditional media. And I think this new AI-led ecosystem is going to trim the wastage in digital, to be very honest. And I think that's already happening.
Now, when we are talking about the digital era, another question pops up that content volume pressure is one of the biggest problem that everybody is facing right now, right? And AI can produce more content faster than ever, but quality and brand voices are different, and they're suffering across the industry. So, how does Mediatropy approach that sort of tension?
Yeah, well, we fight very hard to go the other way, to be honest. we've always been on sort of the brand side of the content equation. And I personally believe in it because I've seen it work every single time. Now, in this era of content pressure, as you called it, and the content volume pressure, I think that brand distinction and the quality of that brand voice and experience is so much more important than before, because it's easy to churn out volume at poor quality. It's harder to stand out in that. And I think that we're going to see a shift, and I think we already are in pockets of the industry where people are going the other way and really investing heavily behind a couple of key messages, creative experiences, digital experiences, and really focusing in on landing them. In some of the best brands that we always refer to have always done things that way. So that's what we champion. We fight very hard for that. We will always fight against volume, not because we don't want to do the work, but it's very rare that you need 50 different versions of a campaign asset, right? And that became sort of the norm. We went to this place where we wanted to hyper personalize everything and have 1,000 different variations for every device and every screen and every market and every person. But really, that diluted the message. I think a lot more time was spent on volume and quantity rather than quality. So we are trying to shift that back, and we see it work.
Oh, wow. So, you being an expert of the industry, I would also like to ask, what does great creative actually looks like in a performance first brief, where the primary goal is conversion rather than, brand building altogether?
Well, brand building comes through over time as you build trust and connection with a customer or a potential customer, right? So that's never going to happen on the first ad. And a lot of people try very hard to fit everything into one ad. The hook, the brand message, the performance, the offer, you're trying to put everything into one. It just doesn't work that way. I think creativity and human-led creativity is more important than ever as we move into this kind of new age. And don't get me wrong, I think the platforms are getting more creative and are very good at what they do. And we are leveraging that as much as possible. That is an amazing tool, just like Photoshop revolutionized design. But it's giving a chance for the true artists and for the true creatives and for people that are still amazing with words and with visuals to really stand out, because their stuff looks different, right? Like if you spend some time just kind of comparing ads that you see on the different platforms, a lot of them are starting to look the same or have the same formula. It's like I've seen this formula before, either the structure of the ad or the visual structure of the ad. And
It's
so
easy to observe that. People keep
understanding that, yeah,
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 true.
exactly. And so understanding that is important, but then knowing that there's an opportunity to stand out from that and knowing how to do that, I think that's still a very human quality that we really believe in. So I'm a huge proponent of that being the future. And, I think a lot of other leaders in the creative space are in the same boat. So we are not at all worried about that. But, you still have to prove it.
Yeah, 100%. And you have to keep doing that.
Keep proving it. Yeah, those results have to keep coming.
Exactly. So, creativity and all of that is one side of the story. Now, coming to the AI tools that you guys have built. So, Mediatropy has built three proprietary AI tools: Media Assistant tool, the Google Listing Profile dashboard, and the Mediatropy Intelligence Assistance platform. So, why did you decide to build in-house rather than integrating best in-class external tools? And what is the real cost? Or what did it cost you, this big decision that you had to implicate?
It wasn't a big decision. It happened very naturally because we always built tools for ourselves. It just got quicker and cheaper to do it. And obviously the tools became more and more powerful with the evolution of the AI platforms and the technology at our disposal. We have always looked at, can we build something either faster or cheaper than what we can buy it for? And secondly, can we do something that we don't get from the tools that we are buying? So we also pay for a lot of platforms out there. We're always testing platforms. We're not adverse to that, but we often find that there are gaps that we just do not get out of them that we would really love to customize. And now we know we can build it ourselves. So we just started by experimenting. Could we build this ourselves quickly and close that gap? Could we get that little bit more custom for the way that we operate if we did X, Y, and Z? And that's how these tools came about. It was experimentation. And when the first experiment's successful, you do another one. And then that one's successful, you do another one. And now you've got a mini platform. And that used to take months. Now it takes days, right? So when we figured that out, every problem started to take a slightly different skew, which was, we're going to start by experimenting and building it. We're not even going to look for platforms. So it used to be look for platforms, pay for platforms, figure out that it's not giving you everything you need or that it's really expensive, build yourself, right? That's completely flipped. Now it's like build yourself first, very quickly, see if it lands. If it really doesn't land, try again. If it really doesn't land, okay, then we can go out and look at other options and other solutions. And so that's how we came to these three tools. And there are more that we are working on internally and externally. And the second thing that we realized is that what used to be thought of as internal tools, which is where our Media Assistant tool came from, or Mediatropy Intelligent Assistant. So these were tools that we built for ourselves, and we very quickly realized our clients want this. A, gives them more visibility. B, it allows them to do some of the things themselves that they used to have to rely on agencies. It's not a bad thing for us. We're building those platforms. So we're still doing well out of that. We're not trying to limit our clients' ability to access data or develop ideas. So it kind of, we learned by accident that it crossed over. And so that's really, really cool that we are now building things that we use as an agency and our clients use as clients, and we can use them together. I'm seeing a lot more of that. And there's a big transformation for the big enterprise software platforms because, the way that they price, sell, and service clients and customize, most importantly, is changing, right? And so that's an advantage to us small folks who have small teams that can build these things quickly. But the good thing that we sort of have the ability to do at Mediatropy is we get to apply that and test that with real blue chip international clients. And so we validate that it works at a very high level. We're not playing, with small backyard toys. And that's what I think has really helped us as well.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, now looking at from a little bit from the client's perspective, where is AI genuinely improving outcomes for the clients right now, and where is it mostly being used to justify, a high retainer from the client's perspective?
Well, I think the clients are expecting slightly different things from their agencies. Just what I hear from my clients and from speaking to other leaders in the field. They expect the agencies to think quicker and process briefs quicker, which is completely fair. We've got the tools at our disposal to do that. And so it's given clients the ability to move faster, I think, right? So it used to take a long time to prepare a brief, get that brief out, screen agencies, go through that briefing process, the pitch process, sometimes potentially you validate that. That has really shortened. And I think that's a good thing on both sides, to be honest. So that's really improved for the client's part. I think the second piece is clients are now able to get more customized tools. So some years ago, even a custom dashboard was a big deal, and we used to charge a lot of money to build custom dashboards. Now they're essentially free, right? And very easy to develop. So I think the clients now have better access to live data, especially on the media performance side. Used to be that you get your report once a month, then maybe for really progressive agencies, you might get a weekly report on your advertising. Now you can have live data and dashboards, live weekly and monthly, and sometimes even daily reporting. So that has been a huge transformation for clients. And I think that it's benefiting the entire ecosystem. So we're very happy to work that way.
Oh, lovely. So, what is the one thing a brand does in its digital marketing that signals immediately it is being run by an agency that does not truly understand its business? Mhm.
um, I would say deliver experiences that are not purpose built. And what I mean by that is you'll see a website that's not designed properly and you'll know that it's not because it won't work well for you as the user, right? You'll see an ad and you'll be able to tell that it's not designed for that medium or that ecosystem or that screen pretty quickly. Or you'll see an ad and you'll be able to tell that this was built for a whole different market, for a whole different audience, and that's really not for you, not in your language, not in your culture. So I think those tells, like, the audience is so savvy, especially the younger generations. I mean, they know what an ad is and they even know how those ads are made and who made them, right? So
Easier to catch them.
I don't think, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I don't think you can get away with that anymore,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Mm.
So that's where I think you can see when someone is either not using an agency or using an agency that's taking shortcuts or maybe working with a limited budget. A lot of times agencies just try and do what they can with the budgets that can be limited. So shortcuts happen that way. But those are some clear tells that, you can find on a daily basis.
And my next question goes like most of the independent agencies in Asia, either they stay small or they get sold, right? What is Mediatropy's actual plan for staying independent and relevant at a certain scale?
We're far more worried about staying relevant and really driving good outcomes for our clients and what comes next. This is a privately held business, been that way for 14 plus years now, actually. So, and the focus is how do we make sure that we are the best partner our clients can have? That's where all of our focus goes. The rest comes and goes with the territory that we're in, right? And especially during this phase, you can't take your eye off the ball now. So we're not thinking about whether we sell or whether we stay independent. We're thinking about how do we make sure that we have the best platform and the best people, because it's moving so quickly now that you cannot afford to slip or sleep for a second. And then, yeah, I think the next 2 years are going to be hugely revolutionary. They're already starting to be. And we're really excited about seeing where we land, on the other side of that revolution.
Right, all the best for those years, though. But I'm a little quirky question for you. If you stripped back everything and had to name the single biggest reason an integrated agency approach fails for a client, what would that be?
That's a very, very good question. Single thing, I think a misalignment of objectives, to be honest. Like when there is an expectation that cannot be met by the brief or the budget or the timelines, it's very, very difficult for either to succeed. And that's just on both sides, both the client and the agency side. I
Mm,
still see a lot of impossible briefs. Not
okay.
because I want to make maximum money on that brief, but because I've done this for a long time and I look at it and I say, that's just impossible. Give it to any agency. Now, some agency is going to say, yep, I'll do it. And most likely they will completely fail or fail to a solid degree. And then it just comes back around, right? So, but look, clients have a lot of pressure on time and budget. I get that, but that still tends to be the one thing, the misalignment of objectives and expectations. And so both sides really have to work at that, because we have so many more tools at our disposal to do this well and to work together well and to maximize efficiency and creativity and time and everything. Um, Getting those expectations and objectives really right and making sure that they can be achieved, that's the number one thing for me.
Wow. Okay, my next question is, what is the hardest honest conversation you have had with a client just before the campaign has begun?
Just before the campaign has been launched or finished?
Before it has been launched.
Before it has been launched, we're not ready. So that is the most difficult, honest conversation. And that can be for a variance of reasons. But I prefer to be honest than to go out with something that's not ready and maybe fail because of that, because I think that's dishonest, right? When you go out and deliver something that doesn't work, but you've done everything you can and with the right intention and the right strategy, okay, things fail all the time. That's the space that we're in, where we're constantly testing things as marketers. But when you go live with something that's not ready or half baked and you don't tell the client, to me, that's wrong. So that's the hardest conversation, and we've had them. To be honest, we're not always fully ready. Sometimes in our control, sometimes out of our control. But I really believe that's an important conversation.
Nice. Okay, my last question to you is, what do most people in the industry still not understand about how search is going to look in the next 2 years?
Well, I think most people imagine that search is going to be fully AI and fully kind of multi-intelligent in 2 years' time. I don't believe that that's going to happen that quickly in that way. I think people misunderstand, underestimate Google. Not only because of the power of Google search and YouTube, which people forget is the second largest search engine in the world and super, super powerful, but also because Google Gemini is one of the leading platforms in the LLM and the agentic AI space for GEO. So I think if the majority of people are thinking it's going to be all about ChatGPT and others, I think they're wrong about that. I think traditional search is still going to have a massive part to play, especially in validating. Like, trust in AI still has a long way to go, and for good reason, right? And the companies themselves will openly admit that there's still a long, long way to go there. So search is much more trusted. Brand sources, traditional sources, really, really established media sources are still the trust points. And so I think it's going to take a lot longer than 2 years for people to completely trust AI platforms for all of their search and all of their search needs. Much like 5 or 6 years, if everyone said search is going to be completely voice in a few years' time. Well, it's been more than a few years. Yes, voice search is a big thing, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near the majority of the search industry, not even close, right? So I think it's kind of like that. This is definitely a shift. It's definitely going to be a big shift. It's going to take up more and more and more of the space where people search and experience things. But don't write off Google and Google search. I think they're going to have a big part to play in that.
I mean, coming from an expert like you, that was a very insightful response. Is there any
Thank
message
you.
to all the anybody who's in a similar industry or space like yours that you would like to give our viewers today?
Yeah, my message is that this is really genuinely an exciting time if you have a passion for learning the new state of technology. If you don't, if you don't enjoy it, if it doesn't strike you in a way where you kind of want to read about it or listen to podcasts about it or research in your spare time, this is not the industry to get into. Marketing and advertising has never been a 9 to 5, but there was some structure to it. Now it's getting a lot more unstructured, and there's a flattening of technical abilities that's happening across the board. So if that excites you, this is going to be a really, really good space. And there's a lot of growth, a lot of money to be made, a lot of exciting ground to crack. If you're not excited about that, you're going to struggle very quickly and go find something else to do. That would be my message, because our industry is embracing this, not only because it has to, it does, but because it makes the work better. The work that we are doing in advertising and marketing is better for the technology that we implement and deploy. So that's my key message.
I love how transparently and beautifully you answered all our questions today, and you took out time. I'm so glad that we had this insightful conversation at Tech Unplugged. And that's a wrap on this episode of Tech Unplugged. Honestly, conversations like this one are why we do this series. Daniel didn't dodge a single question. And if you walked away with even one thing that made you rethink how your brand is approaching search, media, or AI, then this episode did its job. You can find Daniel on LinkedIn and check out the work Mediatropy is doing across APAC on their website. Both links are in the description. And if you enjoyed this one, you know what to do. Drop a like, comment your opinion, and share it with someone on your team who needs to hear it. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I'm Tamanna. This was Tech Unplugged by Mobile App Daily. See you in the next one.